Welcome to Session Sunday. Hi guys, it's Jack Edwards, and this week we're going to be focusing on pre-season drills. But before we get into this week's video, make sure to leave us a like and subscribe, and if you missed last week's video, click on the link above. Okay, so moving into the first part of this week's session, again, similar to last week, we're going to be starting off with an SAQ-based drill, then we're going to work on some conditioning, and then we're going to go into some technical stuff. This week we're going to do a small-sided game. Now, in terms of players for this week, we're going to have a group of 8, okay, but you can adapt this for more players as well. So you can just add the players in to each team, okay, to start with these drills, or you can set up another area if you wanted to as well. And when we go into a small-sided game, obviously you can just look to add players on both teams or create a third team. Now, in terms of the equipment for this week, we're going to be focusing on using balls, bibs, cones, okay, and then agility ladders or hurdles. In terms of the setup for this part of the session, so you'll have your agility ladder here, okay, or hurdles, and then either side, okay, of the ladder here, okay, it's just going to be 5 yards, okay. So you'll have your ladder, 5 yards, okay. Then between here and here is going to be 20 yards, so a little bit of space to drive into. Now, both players are going to work at the same time, and then they'll switch and go to the opposite side after the finish. So they start on the same side as where the ball is, okay, so the players need to remember this, okay, for the next time. So the player's going to shuffle across the ladder, they're going to move round the cone, okay, so they're going to shuffle round the cone, back in towards the ladder, move through the ladder again, round the cone, okay, retrieve the ball, drive into space, leave the ball here, okay, then they're going to go to the back of the queue, okay, then the next player for each one steps up, so on the same side as where the ball is, okay, shuffle across, come round, shuffle across, come round, back across, retrieve the ball, drive into space, and then as they're driving into space, okay, that's when the next player, okay, can move up towards the ladder to get ready, okay, and you can start to go across the ladder as that player looks to leave the ball. And again, you can go round a couple of times, so you can keep the drill going for a set amount of time, or you can obviously try and say, you can say to the players, we want you going round each side twice, and then you can relax, okay, or you can go even further as well. And again, so showing quick feet, so we're going to move across the ladder, so making sure we're putting both feet in each one, leading with the outside foot, okay, shuffling out, so making sure that we're staying light on our feet again, we're using our arms as well, not just having them down by the sides, making sure our balance is there, and then when we retrieve the ball, driving into space, but keeping control of the ball, so lots of touches, okay, trying to use the outside of the foot, okay, trying to use both feet to drive into space. We will now move into our first animation, before moving on to part 2 of this week's session. Now moving into part 2 of this week's session, we're now going to do a conditioning-based drill again, okay, we're just going to be focusing on accelerating into space, change direction, and then sprinting into space again. So obviously, focusing in a game, okay, we're sprinting one way, then we have to turn and adapt and transition to go an opposite direction. So in terms of the setup for this part of the session, we're going to have a 20 by 20 yard box. Now you can increase this as well as you go on. You could go to 30 by 30 as well. And if you wanted to go 40 by 40, you could as well. Now that would depend on the age group as well that you're working with. So splitting the group into 2 again. Okay, the players are going to sprint across. Okay, so they're going to come round this side of the cone as well. So they're going to come round to be able to face this side, because they're then going to, after they sprint across, okay, then they're going to sprint straight across, and then they're back to their start there. As they cross, next player gets ready to go. So again, we're sprinting across to turn, to sprint across, to turn, to sprint across. So again, attacking that space quickly across slowing ourselves down to turn, sprinting across the pitch again, and then turning to sprint all the way down, okay? Now, if you wanted to, you can make it a competition between the teams, okay, in terms of each player has to go around 2 or 3 times, okay, and the team who gets back first wins, okay? If you wanted to just focus on it not being a competition, the players can sprint across, and as they turn, slow down to a jog, little 3/4 pace, then sprint again. Okay, so we're changing, okay, direction, changing movements, changing speed as well. So you might want to start with that. So sprinting across, turn, slow down, slow down, slow down, and then sprint again, obviously to replicate that interval type of fitness. Obviously with football, obviously change direction, change speed. You can be in the game, okay, you can make a sprint up the pitch, and then it's just a jog, getting back into position, and then it's a sprint again to try and obviously close a player down, make a run into space. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to the final part of this week's session. Okay, now moving into the final part of this week's session, we're now going to focus on a technical drill, which is going to be kind of like a small-sided game. So you're going to look to split your group into 2 teams. So if you had 10 players, obviously 2 teams of 5, 12 players, 2 teams of 6. And then if you had more players, you can either set up another area or just add them in. So in terms of the setup, okay, so you're going to have 4 end zones here, okay, that are just going to be 5 yards. Okay, so we're going to have 20 yards of depth and width. So these areas here will be 15 yards, 20, 25. Same here as well. So in this middle area here, they'll have 25 yards. And then once they get towards the end zones, it'll be a bit smaller. So there's going to be 5 balls, okay? And the team who dribbles it into the end zone the most wins the game. Then the players swap over. So to start with, coach will just roll it in. Now the floaters on the outside can be used. Okay, coach will roll it in. Let's say the Reds get it here. Okay, they look to drive into one of the end zones. Let's say they don't get it, they look to turn. They could play to one of their floaters, gets played into space, drive in, okay, 1-0. Then the coach will play into that team again, so they might even play into the floater, okay, who plays to one of their players here. Okay, that floater's blocked off, this might be blocked off, okay, keep the ball, turn, drive into space, 2-0. 2 balls down, Reds are winning 2-0. Reds could get it again, they try to play out, Blues intercept it, okay, they turn, look to score, 2-1. Okay, so 2-1 after 3 balls, so then we've got 2 more balls left, okay. When the ball first comes in, there has to be 1 pass made before driving into the goal. You can't just receive it here and just drive into it. There has to be at least 1 pass made, okay. So there's a bit of obviously, something for the players to work towards. Gets into here, and then it's 2-2. And then the final one, let's say the Blues get it again, look to play through, Reds block it, play in, and then they drive in. So then the Reds will have won 3-2, players swap over. Now, they can score in any goal, in any end zone, okay? It's not like the Blues have 2 and the Reds have 2. They can score in any one they want. Floaters on the outside, obviously look to play out of pressure, okay? So it encourages a bit of movement as well to receive the ball in space. For the players who are in the middle, they want them to be confident driving into space. And once after like the first 2-3 balls have gone in, okay, it then becomes a little bit harder, okay? Fitness starts to obviously, players look to tire. So again, it's about powering through that, okay? Maintaining the quality throughout and making sure that we can try and finish as quick as we can. So driving into that space to score. We will now move into our final animation before concluding this week's session. Thanks for watching this week's video. Don't forget to head over to our website where you can sign up to view over 900 session plans like this. And we'll see you next week for another Session Sunday.